my distinct pleasure to introduce to you for our banquet address, Mr. Joe Ruffalo.
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
Hopefully you enjoyed your dinner. Hopefully you're alive and awake out there. But let me start by saying greetings from President Marco Gabono and the staff at the National Center for the Blind in Baltimore, Maryland, our center, our organization. Many times I'm asked to speak at school functions, civic organizations, and I'm introduced pretty much the way Barbara just did. And I'll get in front of the microphone and clear my voice, my throat, just like this, to get their attention. And then I'll start my address with these words. I'm so lucky to be blind. And I'll pause. And I remember one little fifth grader, little boy said, "Lucky, this guy must be an idiot." And then another time I heard a little third or fourth grade little girl say, "Wow, I wonder what he's going to teach us today." So I continue by saying these words. I'm so lucky to be blind because I cannot judge you on the color of your skin, on the clothes you wear, on your height, on your weight, your gender. I can only judge you from my heart to your heart. I like stories. Hopefully you do too. If you don't, tough luck. I'm telling you stories. I was a manager of a shoe store, many shoe stores. I lived in Buffalo, New York. Hence the word Ruffalo from Buffalo, that's my letterhead. And Boston, Massachusetts, and whatever. So in 1976, in May of 76, I was promoted to Yonkers, New York. My last stop before becoming a district sales manager. I was 27 years old. I would be the youngest district sales manager that Melville Corporation ever had. That's Miles and Tom McCann stores. About a year before that, my brother was experiencing some vision loss, and he was told it was RP. And I said, "Rich, what is RP?" He said, "Real poor." So it was advised that I get my, quote, eyes checked or tested, whatever. And the doctor said, "You don't have what your brother has. Just need to get a pair of stronger glasses." So I did. Now I'm in Yonkers, New York, working 20 hours a day for about 2 weeks straight, trying to get the store in shape. Just around Mother's Day, and I got up early Saturday morning, paper outside the motel door. I pick it up to read the sports section or whatever, and it was very blurry. I said to myself, "Boy, I'm working too many hours. Glad it's a Saturday, glad I'm off tomorrow." I got in my car, which I also celebrated after the doctor said, "You don't have RP." I went and bought a brand new car. Driving down the turnpike, I saw the sign New York Thruway, but the N wasn't there. Some of the E was missing. W was pretty good. Get to the store early in the morning, doing the receipts from the night before, and everything just looked blurry. And I thought for a moment, I think I have what my brother has. I called the boss. He came in, we talked. I said, "I can't do this any longer. I need to quit." He says, "No, you don't need to quit. Take some time off. Get another opinion. You'll always have a job with us. You've given us your time and your energy, traveled around the country, setting up stores for us. We want you." It was nice to hear. This is pre-ADA days, so it was nice to hear. Well, 6 weeks, back and forth to this doctor, that doctor. Finally, I said to the doctor, my brother and I said to the doctor, "Doc, quit sugarcoating this. Tell us what the story is." And And he said, "You're going blind. You'll be blind someday." Talk about a shocker. But that's what it was. That was May of '76. Went back home, called the Commission for the Blind. They came out to my mom's house, where I was to meet the counselor. Sat down on the couch. He came in, this blind gentleman came in, sat across the way, took out this little punch thing, it looked like a ruler, state, state styles, of course, and he started taking notes. And my attitude then, you know what I said to myself? I'm 27 years old, I'm losing vision, I want to learn skills. I need to work. I love people. I got to get out there and do sales. So when he started brailing away, I said to him, "Hey, that looks pretty neat. When am I going to learn that?" And he said these words, "Pray never." That was his words to me. Pray never. After 6 weeks, I went back on the sales floor because I didn't think I could be a manager. They put me back in the store where I started, in a very, very busy mall. And after 2 days, I called my boss up and said, "You know what? I can't do this any longer. I can't be a salesman. I can be a manager." He said, "It took you 2 days to realize that? I got a store for you starting Monday." He believed in me more than I believed in myself. And for the next 7 years, I worked very hard, very long hours. They made my store a training store where I trained lots of people. One of them became my district sales manager several years later. And for those next 7 years as a blind shoe store manager, I won 6 of the 7 years Manager of the Year. I wanted to prove to myself that I could do it, that blindness is not going to be my characteristic. That was many years before we use that today. I wanted to raise my expectations when people in the commission told me, "No, you can't do that." I want to have my dreams turn into reality. I want to work. I want to provide for a family. I didn't know anything about NFB in those days. I didn't know that NFB would mean never felt better. I didn't know that at the time. And I started playing goal ball and powerlifting. For those that you can take a look at me, with this stuff around my belly was on my shoulders some years ago. I did some powerlifting. After one of our goal ball events, David Dinataris, who is now in Pennsylvania, executive director in Pennsylvania, in the, I believe it's vocational rehab. His sister was there, picking up David to bring him home. And he said to me, "Joe, you got to talk to my sister, Geraldine. She's with the NFB, and you need the NFB." And he walked away from me. I said, "What is this punk kid telling me what I need? What is he talking about?" Well, about 6 months prior to that, I was invited to another national organization's meeting. And I went to that meeting because they had food. I'm Italian, I'm from New Jersey, I'll be there. So I went to the door and said my name, and the president came over and said, "How are you? This is great, come on in." Go to the registration table, I did that. First word she said, didn't ask me my name, didn't ask me my address or phone number. "What is your eye condition?" I said, "RP. Table 7, RP table." So I sat at the RP table. That's where I sat. And I talked to some very nice people. In the middle of a conversation, good old Mary's, just right in the middle of the sentence, she yells out, "Henry! Henry!" This guy comes running from the back of the room, "Yes, Mary." And she says to him, "Wipe my mouth." I'm saying, is this going to be me? Well, Henry was there. Another lady next to Mary said, "Can you pour my water for me?" And somebody said, "Cut my meat." Then they complained that there was peas on the plate, and blind people can't eat peas. And I was scared. You don't get a voice like this from not eating. I was nervous. Well, I was polite. I stayed because they fed me. But as I was leaving, the president asked me what I thought. I said, this is not for me. She said, I didn't think it would be, but whatever you do, those famous words, don't join the NFB, militant radical group. I said, don't worry, I'm not joining nothing. I went home, I got 6 weeks, fast forward, Geraldine now invites me to an NFB meeting. And I remember what that other lady said. So for 6 months in a row, talk about persistent, she called me 6 consecutive months to go to a chapter meeting. And I always had a reason not to go. Some I made up, some were valid. But finally the 6th month is coming around, and check my voice messages. Hi, George, Geraldine, meeting Saturday. Let me know if you can come. We'll pick you up, whatever she said. So I said to my wife, Judy, look, I got to go to this meeting, get her off my back. I'm not going to join. It's not for me. The militant radical group, I've had enough of that stuff. I ain't going. I mean, I'll go, but I'm not going to join. Joe, you go. You know you got to. I'm not joining. You got, Judy, tell you what, I'll make a deal with you. If I join, which I'm not going there, you pick a place, we'll go out to dinner tonight. But you better make dinner because I'm not joining. I went to the meeting, downtown Newark. In my mind, militant, radical group of people. Downtown, a vision. Blank people stand at the doors, sawed-off shotguns. I went into the meeting, very nice people, very lovely people. There's about 10 or 12 of them there. All of them blind. Me? I'm not blind, I can still see. So I'm better than them. Well, would you like a cup of coffee, Joe? I said, sure. Thinking that she was going to get it for me. Decaf on the left, regular on the right, creams in the middle. Ha! They want to see if I can pour my own coffee, huh? I'll show them. I got a 16-ounce styrofoam mug and filled it about a half an inch of coffee. And the hardest thing I did that meeting was to nurse a half ounce of coffee for 2 hours. Very difficult to do. But I didn't spill it. Part of the meeting, they talked about fundraising, and being a polite person that I am, they invited me to their meeting. I wanted to offer a few things, and I said to the Madam President, I do some fundraising in town for special ed, Knights of Columbus, and we've done, and I mentioned 2 or 3 things. So immediately she said, great, you be chairing the fundraising committee. Next on the agenda is, I'm sitting there saying, wait a minute. Did I volunteer or what? Is this the Army again? I sat there thinking, is this a cult? And I told Mrs. Mara many years later, I said, Mr. Mara, I thought it was a cult. She said, why? Why would you think that? And you know what, Mrs. Mara, this is a cult. The National Federation of the Blind is a cult. It's difficult not to believe in the organization. It's difficult not to get involved. So we are a cult. What changed my life that day was the presidential release, Mark Maurer. It must have been 1987, probably spring of '87, just before, right after the Washington seminar. And he talked about the Washington seminar. And he talked about some convention that's coming up, I think it was Arizona, I can't remember. And he talked about all these things that I wasn't doing that they were. So I said, it has to be something to this training. It has to be something to this vision loss stuff. I had my own personal ADA during this time. Everyone knows the ADA, Americans with Disabilities Act. Well, I had my own. My ADA stood for anger, denial, and then acceptance. I was angered when the doctor told me, you're going to lose your vision. Oh, doctor, thank you. This is going to be so much fun. I can't wait to do this. I was angry. I was afraid. What do I do now? I remember when the doctor told me, you should not drive your car. And I went home. I said, now wait a minute. He said should not. He didn't say could not. So I drove my car. It was a beautiful May day, sun up in the sky, no shadows, noontime, no glare. Got on the parkway, traffic going in one direction. The radio was on. I said, ha ha, I can still drive. As I'm merging from the slow lane into the middle lane, the antenna in my car started to vibrate quite rapidly. And as I realized that, a man's voice was yelling out, "You son of a beeswax." He didn't say beeswax, he said something else, but this is a family show. I didn't see him on the side of the road. He was a maintenance man, either raking stones off the road. I don't know what he was doing. But when he went on his backstroke with the rake or shovel, the back of his rake hit my antenna. How much did I miss it by? Not much. Not much. I made a U-turn in the road, went back to my mom's house because it was right off the parkway, looked up the number for the local paper to place an ad in the car to sell my car. Made that call, hung up the phone, put my head towards the ceiling and said, "God, why did you do this to me? Why are you giving me a life sentence? Why didn't you kill me in Vietnam?" And then I paused for a moment. Tears came out of my eyes. And I said, "Wait a minute. You have a plan. I don't know what it is. I don't know how long it's going to convince me that you know what you're doing, because I know you do know what you're doing." And I said, "This is it. Let me learn what I need to learn." But I met obstacles along the way. They didn't believe that I could do what I wanted to do. I remember when I went to the rehab center. First day there. First class, mobility. Great. I'm going to learn mobility. And this time I'm married, 5 years, with 2 kids in a home. I got to get some training. I got to work. I got to provide for my family. We go outside, and someone called it that cane goes up to your sternum. What'd you call it, a sternum stick? Okay, so they gave me a sternum stick. I like that. They gave me a sternum stick. We went outside, walked about 30 feet to the corner, and the mobility instructor said, "Can you see the traffic light across the street?" Well, I tilted my head, closed one eye and squinted. Oh, I saw the light go on top. That's red. Correct. You don't need a cane, you can still see. And I said to him, "But I'm going to go blind someday." "When you do, you come back, we'll train you then." True. So I went back inside, not knowing what I should say or do. And that afternoon was communication class. Great. I'm going to learn Braille. This is great. That guy told me 6 years ago, I'm going to pray that I can learn this baby. I need to work. I went into the class, sat down behind the Braille writer. Teacher came in and did the roll call and said, "Joe Ruffalo, here I am. What are you doing over there?" "Well, I'm going to learn Braille, aren't I? Because it says on the paper you can read large print." I said, "Well, not that great." Well, here's the paper. What does it say? Again, close my one eye, blink, blink, squint, squint, nose on the paper. It said, "Mets beat," I'm making this one up already. "Mets beat Kansas City Royals in the World Series." Anyway, they're paying attention. This is good. So, and my face is turning around, blushing up here. Is that something? Anyway, I was able to read the headlines. "We're going to put you on the typewriter. You have to learn how to type." So I'm typing away. I can't even see the letters on what I'm typing. Come home from school, first day, and my little boy, 3 years old, standing at the door with a cupcake and a candle in it, and Jimmy's 1-year-old in his diapers and whatever. "How was school today, Daddy?" "It was great." And they go inside. My wife says, "How was it, Judy?" They told me, "Don't use a cane, don't learn Braille, but I got to go through the system. I don't understand it." Fast forward, remember, I was in sales for a number of years. While I was there, I learned how to bake, and I became a baker. And put those two things together, perfect for the BEP program. Perfect. And I went to see a couple stands, and while I was at the stands, both vendors in 2 different locations, told me what a great job it is. And when my counselor went to make a phone call, told me what they thought was the truth. Don't do it, they rob you, it's a waste of time. So I go back to the office, my counselor's there, head of BEP is there. What do you think? I don't want to tell them what these guys told me. I need a job. I said, I want to do it. Again, I didn't know NFB at this time. He got up and shut the door, sat down in front of me and said, don't do it. I said, what do you mean don't do it? I have to have a job. He says, well, you worked, you can get SSDI and be home with your kid. I don't want welfare. It's not welfare, you paid into it. You're entitled to the money. I had nobody to turn to. These were the professionals telling me, don't learn cane, don't learn Braille, and don't work. And what choice did I have? I believed them. That's exactly what I did for a number of years, until I met the NFB, who believed in me before I believed in myself. I worked with seniors, and I'll give you 1 or 2 quick stories with my seniors. Ruby Williams, what an outgoing lady she was. She just passed away recently. And she's in my senior community independent living services program. And we went to her house, myself and Susie, and she tells a story great. I invited her to the state convention about 6 months after this happened. She says, I was dressed in black that day to tell them I didn't want any part of it. I was depressed. But then I thought, wait a minute, Susie's too bubbly, and Joe's blind, he doesn't know what I'm wearing. We went in, we did what we had to do, and I say this to her, or I should say, I said this to her. Ruby, I want you to do me a favor. And she figured, yeah, I'll say yes to get him out of the house. So I said, sure, what do you want me to do? I take out of my briefcase a needle and thread. I said, I want you to thread a needle. She goes, you want me to do what? I want you to thread a needle, and we're going to discuss why I want you to do it and what can happen from after you finish this task. And she says this in front of 200 people, 250 people at our state convention. She turned to me and says, Joe, I didn't sew when I was sighted. I used Scotch tape, rubber bands, Elmer's glue. That's why God invented tailors. That's what she said. But she figured, all right, let me do what he wants me to do. So right away, most people think, how am I going to get that thread through the eye of the needle? So the first thing you need to do, Ruby, is get a bar of soap. She goes, no, I really think this man's crazy. Put the bar of soap down, put the needle in the bar of soap. Now it's nice and sturdy. I have 2 hands to work with. Feel the top of that needle, feel a little slit. Okay, you got to hold that thread nice and tight over it and push down and boom. She goes, wow, it's pretty simple. So she thought she was done. She threaded the needle. Ruby, I want you to sew on a button. That's when she thought I was crazy. I took it out of my briefcase of cloth, maybe 9 inches by 12 inches, with maybe 30 or 40 buttons on it. I said, Ruby, feel this. Tell me what it is. It's a cloth with buttons on it. Correct. Those are sewn on by people in the program that said they couldn't do it either. Give me a button. And she sewed it. She got out of her chair without saying a word, went over to the phone, dialed the phone, and you could hear in the background the phone message machine going on. And, leave a message, beep, and all Ruby said was, hey sis, this is Ruby. I just threaded a needle and sewed on a button, ha. Well, she said that, and everybody laughed, and then she turned towards me and said, Joe, that was 6 months ago, and I want you to know I have not touched the needle and thread since, and I never will. But what you showed me that day, with skill, technique, imagination, and the right attitude, I can do anything. You believed in me. You gave me an opportunity to get off that negative horse and get onto that positive horse. Mr. Rowe, he was 100 years old, lived to be 105 in our program, and on his 100th birthday, we were able to get him a closed circuit TV. And we presented it to him at the residence where he lived. There's about a good 50, 80 people there, and he was a happy guy. He said, Mr. Ruffalo, you know what you just did to me? What's that, Mr. Rowe? You gave me my dignity back. Now my grandkids come over, I can read to them instead of them reading to me. So one gentleman in the audience says, hey, Ro, Jim, what's the secret to live to 100? He runs up to that microphone, grabs it, and says 4 things you need to live to 100. Number 1, he said, never leave home, never leave home without God in your heart. Second thing he says, avoid stress. And then he went to say what he meant by that. Avoid those family members that cause you stress. Be nice to them, be kind to them, blow them a kiss, wave from a distance, but if they cause you stress, avoid them. Third thing he said was wake up every day with a purpose and a goal. And the fourth thing he said, meet every challenge with a positive attitude. So I went over to him, I said, you know, Mr. Rhodes, you just gave me some banquet material. But there are 5 things you need to do in order to live to 100. So, Mr. Ruffalo, what's number 5? Don't die before you're 100. The National Federation of the Blind knows that blindness is not the characteristic that defines you or your future. Every day we raise the expectations of blind people because low expectations create obstacles between blind people and our dreams. You, and you, and you, and you, all of us, can live the life we want. Blindness does not need to hold us back. Together, you in this room, together with your chapter, together with your state affiliate, together with the organization, the National Federation of the Blind, together with your state agency, together with love, hope, and determination, we transform dreams into reality. The National Federation of the Blind, 75 years old or 75 years young, is here for us. It is our organization. And remember, in summary, I'm so lucky to be blind because I am a member of the National Federation of the Blind. From my heart to your heart. Turn those negatives into positives. Lots of hope, love, and determination to transform your dreams into reality. Grab your cane and go out the door. Get to that chapter meeting. You gotta have heart, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you very much.